Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning. It is good to see everybody today. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. Well, let me suspend my Dropbox syncing to see if that helps out on the stream. I was noticing I was editing Sunday's episode of Table Talk where I was talking with Doug and Retro Nerd Girl about Ahsoka episodes 4 and 5. I noticed that I was not coming through very clearly. My audio is fine, but I've got choppy internet. I'm going to see if I can upgrade the internet at the house because I got something about that. So we will see. I'm not sure why though. I noticed that Sunday that my stream, the stream was saying was a bit weak. So we'll see if we can fix that permanently later. Good morning, James. Good morning. Good morning, Multiverse DM. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Zero the Blade says, good morning. How many pages do you think we're going to get through today? I'm guessing 3. I knew that the mail was going to be a long one, or was going to take a lot of time to go through. And actually, I had some other realizations about mail yesterday as I was putting on my Hallberg, because I did actually have it on backwards. I put it on in my haste yesterday on stream. I put it on backwards. I was like, this is not fitting right. It feels like it's on backwards. Well, it was on backwards. And then once I put it on correctly, I realized I made a realization about a possible interpretation of the Norman chest patch. We're going to talk about here in just a moment. Working on a castle multiverse. Awesome. Good morning, Positive Fandom. Good morning. Good morning. It's so good to have you on the show today. I hope everything is going very well with you. Oh, Robert's reporting in on the AI generation of his the AI generated text-based adventure game Morning. Persistent PC generation successful. Also plugged in some rooms visited and connected rooms into prompts to show AI where exits lead to. Character stats including HP and XP displayed. Persistence. Awesome. Awesome. Sable Phoenix says, command you with my mental fish powers. Welcome, welcome. James says, Retro Nerd Girl is a great guest. My vote is for more Retro Nerd Girl. I hope that she will come on more. I really enjoyed having her on. She was great. She was great on Dinner and a Board Game. We didn't really get to talk when we were doing Dinner and a Board Game. We got in, we had to learn how to play Hero Quest, and then she was thrown right into the fire playing Hero Quest. And of course, that was a long stream. So it was great to actually be able to talk to her on Table Talk. So hopefully we will see more of her on Table Talk and Dinner and a Board Game. And yesterday, I filmed something about the realization of the Norman chess patch, and then I'd been editing all yesterday. I feel like I'm making no serious headway because I was editing that long stream for clips. So I got clips going out on the Table Talk channel. Let's see here. So if you here we go. Clips of our discussion with the Retro Nerd Girl are going out on the Geekverse channel. Now, see, I need to clip some of this stuff from the morning grind too, especially talking about this arms and equipment guide. Come over here and check out the Table Talk channel. And even if you want some clips, so 3 clips, there'll be more clips going out today. But can critics of Ahsoka cling to hope after episodes 4 and 5? This right here, is there any hope after 4 and 5? What happened? Talking about Grogu and the Mandalorian right here. Was the Mandalorian season 3 a loss? And then the seduction of Sabine, as Retro Nerd Girl called it in episode, what was that, 4? I think it was 4. And the seduction of Sabine. More clips going out today. Of course, tonight we are talking to James and Sable. So it's going to be a big night today on Table Talk. And I don't have the thumbnail made up yet. I should have had it made up, but I don't have it made up yet. So I'll do that after the stream here. Tonight, 7 o'clock p.m. Central. Please do join us over on that Table Talk channel because James and Sable will be here with us along with Brianna and Doug. And we're going to be talking about this book right here. From Where You Dream. I've got to finish my notes this afternoon. I've got notes on this and the War of Art. And so we're going to be talking about this. If you didn't see, it says From Where You Dream, the process of writing fiction. And so I think it's going to be a lot to say on it. I know a lot of our guests will have quite a bit to say. So come and join us tonight. Norman chest patches for everyone. Yes. Good morning, TSL Frontman. Good morning, Stray. The first thing I think of whenever I see people make Retro Nerd Girl's name into an acronym is a random number generation. I figure that can't have been a coincidental choice. Could be. RNG giveth and RNG taketh away. Oh, TSL Frontman says, had my birthday last night. Happy birthday, TSL Frontman. Ran my first ever group test of a racing card game I made. Went amazingly smooth. I'm slightly flabbergasted. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that went well. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited to have you both on tonight. Okay, let's go ahead and breathe and sip, and then we will talk about the Norman chess patch. All right, so I got Witch's Brew mug this morning, but it's Diet Mountain Dew. So here we go. Let's breathe and sip. 2 deep breaths, complete deep breaths. complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage this morning. If you need, if you got beer, you need a shot of whiskey, whatever you need this morning. Okay. All right, here we go. And sip. There we go. All right. Yeah, see, it says that I got an unstable connection soon. Still. Huh. Maybe I've been uploading stuff too much, and the ISP is like, hey, we got to slow you down. We will see. All right. Stray says, this is why I get out of bed in the morning. It's why I get out of the bed in the morning, too. Good morning, PH. Okay, let's go over here. I shot a video yesterday because when I put on the I didn't want to put on the mail again this morning. So I shot a video yesterday when I realized that when I turned the mail around the right way, and then my realization about the chest patch. So I'm going to play what we've got here. Here is what I realized yesterday, and then we'll continue with it after this. Addendum to this morning's morning grind. We were talking about mail armor. Oh, wait, what? Oh, hang on. I got me playing at, that's not going to work. I tend to edit things in 2 and 3 times speed because when I was going through all that stuff yesterday, and apparently this morning, I forgot to not have that playing at double speed. So that seems like I had way too much coffee this morning. Hang on, I'm re-exporting. So anyway, what we were doing today, we're asking what type of stuff how much we're going to be able to get through. Well, we've had some fantastic conversations inspired by the Arms and Equipment Guide right here. Not necessarily because it's so perfect, but it's a really interesting historical look in terms of the history of gaming and Dungeons and Dragons, because this was published in 1991, but it references a lot of material that's a lot earlier than that, when we really didn't have the understanding of arms and armor, medieval arms and armor that we have today, because we've been experiencing a huge renaissance in our understanding of medieval weapons, right? And so they reference, but it's interesting to say what they thought, and they don't often very clearly distinguish between what is a historical thing that they're referencing and what is kind of things that they put in for the purposes of Dungeons and Dragons. And I wish that they had done that. So you got to take this as a Dungeons and Dragons thing, clearly. And they're talking about like the kind of armor pirates wear and things like that, which I don't think they got from anywhere. Sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons thing to me. Did PH just join our members? Sometimes I can't see that in the software that I've got. Stray gifted a membership. Oh, that's why. For some reason, the gifted memberships don't appear on my streaming software. So if I miss that, that's why. Let me know. So Stray, thank you very much for gifting a membership. And so it looks like PH got it. Yes, PH got it. So wonderful. Thank you, Stray, for gifting that. And welcome, PH. Yeah, it does. You when you purchase a membership, you have to be eligible for it, but then it doesn't. Yeah, you can't just give someone directly a membership. The person, it has to do with how interactive the person is on the channel. I don't really know the algorithm that it uses, but there's some, like, it should be the most active people who are here that get it and something like that. Yeah, Sable says, no seafarers wear armor because you're on water. Don't want anything that makes you less floaty. Particularly something like the saying that, it's studded mail, right? That the pirates are supposed to wear. Let's see. Did this finish exporting again? Yes. Okay. Let me see if this is right now.
Hey guys, this is a quick.
Okay, that sounds right. Okay, let me bring that up then. All right. Well, it's not, like I said, it's not exactly random. So I understand that it's not exactly random. They have some type of algorithm that has to do with the person's like interactivity. I'll look that up while we're looking at this. All right, so here we go. This is a quick addendum to this morning's morning grind when we were talking about mail armor. And I did realize that I had my Hallberg on backwards. I thought it wasn't fitting right. It's been a long time since I put this one on. So I did put it, take it off and then put it back on and realized there is this gap right here in the front, which does make it a lot more comfortable to put on because it's not going up against your neck. And also the sleeves do fit better. So I did, in my haste this morning on the live stream, put it on backwards. But of course, when I was looking at this, I was going, man, that does seem like there's a lot of my chest exposed right there. And you do see some people try to put some type of clip or something on there to draw up this, which I guess would be one thing that you can do, but I just don't see that very often. But like, as far as a historical documentation, it's probably out there. It occurred to me, whoa, I do need to cover this up. What could I cover this with? And it all of a sudden struck me that's another possible interpretation of the Norman chest square, right? So if we're looking at the bio tapestry, so here it is. You bring this up. See this guy over here? This is a very classic Norman look. And I want to talk more about the possible interpretations of this this Norman armor from the tapestry on future episodes. But it's such an iconic look and kind of a mystery, as you can see this guy right here. And I think that more than one Norman ends up having this, where they've got what looks like some type of square chest reinforcement, some type of square on their chest. And what that is, well, it's completely open to interpretation. Of course, what is that? Well, of course, we have no idea. I've seen that interpreted in a couple of different ways. I guess the most straightforward way to interpret that is this right here. I've seen this guy in books before, and this is not a very high resolution image of it, but it's the only one that I could find. But this seems like the most straightforward interpretation of the Norman chest patch that I've seen. And it's just that we have basically a reinforcement of mail. So you've got like a double layer of mail on your chest that is attached here. And that's a perfectly reasonable interpretation of what is going on here. It does look classically Norman. I mean, when I see that, I definitely think Norman Knight. But on the other hand, I've always wondered, if you have that extra piece of mail for everybody, is reinforcing the middle of the chest right there really what you want to do? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it is. We have no idea. But it seems like putting an extra layer over the shoulders with a mantle or something might be more effective to me. But nonetheless, this interpretation of this patch right there could just be a chest reinforcement. But on the other hand, it seems like a lot of people are interpreting that as a ventail right here that should be brought up around the face during action. So I see a lot of people now who are interpreting that as a ventail. Like this guy right here has got it down. I like this picture right here because it kind of demonstrates, yeah, it looks like kind of a patch on his chest. And you also have to remember that the artist might not be really familiar with arms and armor. I mean, the artist is just trying to represent whatever, of course, using embroidery on a tapestry. And so this guy right here, if he's got something that can be brought up over his face and then tied, around the back of his head or to the sides of his mail or wherever you're going to tie it, bringing that ventail up, it seems like a reasonable interpretation of the Norman chest patch as well to me. And I see a lot of people doing that. And of course, that makes more sense. Like if I were going to have that extra piece of mail, if I had that piece of mail, would I just stick it as a reinforcement on my chest, or would I make it a flap that could come up, under my eyes, under my helmet and up under my eyes? I think I would definitely do that. So I've always been generally in favor of this interpretation of the Norman chest flap, that you're just seeing something that needs to be brought up over the face. The reasoning against that, however, is that you do see the Normans wearing this chest patch in action when they're actually in battle, and not when not when they're out of battle. Like if you were expecting it, you would be expecting that if it was actually a ventail that was being brought up over the face, that you would actually see that while they're in combat here. And a lot of the Norman knights, maybe all of them, I don't know, I don't have the entire tapestry here, but the Norman knights do appear to be open-faced. Not all of them have that chest patch, but even the ones that do have that chest patch are having that chest patch while they are actually in battle. And that could be just, again, an artistic thing. We don't know. It's so interesting how much we actually don't know about arms and armor. Like, what exactly did a Norman knight look like when he's riding into battle? We don't know. But this chest patch, that would be the main reason to not think that the chest patch is a Vintel. This guy right here is wearing the chest patch, and we're in a battle scene. This is when William raises his helmet to prove to his soldiers that he's not dead. And it's all down. If it's a Vintail, it's definitely being depicted as down. What is it? I don't know. But then what I was saying, when I was looking at myself in the mirror after putting this on, and I was going, gee, this make it a lot more comfortable. It's not protruding into my neck. It was a lot easier to put on in this way. But now I have this problem that I've got this gap here around my neck. What would it be really nice to have? And I immediately thought, oh, like a square. What if you had that that Norman square that came over and attached this way to put one layer of mail here and make it easier, your Hallberg easier to put on, but it's a flap to cinch this up. And then once you've got it on, to keep your chest from being covered. Oh, so that's three. To me, that's three very possible interpretations of the Norman chest patch. And right now, if you're just going by the bio tapestry, that they do not wear the Vintail when they're in action, this interpretation, and probably other people have had it before. I'm not saying this is an independent thought of mine, but it was something that I thought about as soon as I put this on, that Norman chest patch could be a way to close the front of the Hallberg, because it's got a larger opening for the neck to make it easier to get in and out of and more comfortable. But then you close that across, and that closes up this chest. I think that if I were making a Norman Hallberg today, I think that would be the interpretation that I would choose. That seems like a really neat interpretation. So other people may have it. I'd love to see that around the internet. If you know other people who are interpreting the Norman chest patch in that way, I would love to see it. Please put it in the links below or put it in the comments. So that was my realization from yesterday. Sable asks, why would you bother with mail over your face, though? It's going to do almost nothing unless you get a glancing cut. I would still take it. If you get hit in the face, you're going to have a bad day unless you're entirely covered in a solid helmet, possibly even then, depending on how you get hit. But I would still rather have it than not. Because if you're talking about if you're talking about a sword strike or something, if I get hit in the face with a sword, I'd rather have the mail over my face than not. But a square over the neck makes more sense. Practical innovation, yes. So I think that actually that Hallberg that I had could be turned into a really neat Norman Hallberg. It's about the right length as far as the length goes, and length of the shirt goes, but also the sleeves. And then I think if I had an extra piece of mail, you put that over there, then everyone would identify it as Norman because it's got that chest piece on it, and it would be practical because it's what would be closing up the chest. So let me bring up our auxiliary camera. So I've got another book to show you. Right over here. That has another interpretation of Roman armor. This book over here, this is called, I'm going to show you this book right here. It's called Knights in Arbor. Anybody have this book? This book was also really influential on me because I had this as a kid, and then I rebought this book. This isn't the original book, but I remember it being so influential. And having as a kid, later I bought it, and I bought it for my nephews as well. But I went ahead and bought an extra one, so I had an extra copy for myself. So this was the Knights in Armor coloring book, and actually this book, it goes through time. Let me bring up the auxiliary camera. I think this book is really what gave me an idea of what armor through time looked like as a kid. Stuff. Because it starts off with the Roman soldier here. And so I think this is what gave me a reasonable understanding as a kid about what the progression of armor or different culture armor looked like, even though some of it is questionable. A Roman auxiliaryman right here. This is a great coloring book. British warrior from the Dark Ages. Carolingian warrior. He's wearing this Bernie here. It looks like they're trying to depict him in some type of lamellar, actually. I'm not sure about that. Now, they do over here, this says, this warrior wears a studded leather Bernie and is armed with a sword and battle axe. This is a Capetian warrior, they say 10th century. So they do have, like, when was this book published? This is 1985. Oh, so this actually predates the AD&D book. So this is 1985. So they do still have studded leather here, but this interpretation, like whatever this guy is supposed to be wearing, whatever they got this from, was probably wearing mail. It was probably an artistic depiction of mail, but they did go with the leather with the studs on it that are rather far apart. Viking warrior, but this one right here is the one that I was, because I was thinking about Vikings, and I went, hey, wait a minute, there was a Viking warrior in this coloring book, and this is their interpretation. So this is 1985's interpretation of a Norman warrior, a Norman knight, and I thought this one was kind of neat. I saw the word neat. I actually thought this was kind of weird. So PH says, how neat. Yeah, it does have a glossary of terms in it, actually. A glossary of armoring terms. Where is it? Oh, yeah. The parts of armor, front view. Parts of the armor, rear view. For Maximilian armor, Germany of 1520. So that was also really useful to me as a kid. I think this might be how I learned different parts of armor. But this is a bizarre interpretation. I always thought this guy looked weird. And who knows, it might be accurate. If you're looking at the Bayeux tapestry, this could be a reasonable interpretation of what a Norman knight was wearing there. Because they are wearing this, he's wearing these shorts. Like this Hallberg interpretation right here, it says Norman man-at-arms 1050. He's wearing a suit of mail and carrying an elongated shield bearing a stylized dragon. So their interpretation, is it a bad interpretation? We don't know what that tapestry was really trying to represent. But they've got the chest patch here, and they're making it something that you get into. It looks like you'd pull this down, and then you would step into your Hallberg, and then put your sleeves through it, and then fasten up the front of it. And it looks like it's got an integrated coif here. And this right here, this looks like it's got gigantic like guards on the sword, but he's actually wearing his sword belt underneath his Hallberg to keep the sword belt from being cut. So you can see that's actually the sword belt right there, and it slides into the Hallberg, and then the sword is on the outside. So he's wearing his sword inside of his Hallberg. The idea, like where are we over here? Oh, Stray remembers this book. This was a great book. Let's see. Well, yes. Okay, so that is this. BGD says, don't forget to like the stream. Yes, please do like and subscribe. Yeah, they do. Yeah, this does make it very difficult to, to take care of business one way or another getting into this. I've never seen this. What I was going to say, though, is if you go back, let me pull up our just picture of the Bayeux tapestry. When we're looking at these Norman knights. Yeah, like this over here. Let me take this down so it's a bit larger. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Yeah, so, I mean, what are these guys wearing? Of course, it's got these circles. So is that ring armor? Is that ring mail? Probably not. Maybe it's an artistic depiction of mail. But they do look like they're wearing shorts. Now, that could be that the mail is slit. Like we've got a slit in a Hallberg for writing. And then the embroiderers here and just, you know, weren't that sophisticated in the depiction of a Hallberg that's like swinging across along the hips. Because I would say a pretty straightforward interpretation of what the Normans are wearing on this tapestry, like these guys right here, is what's inside this book. So this is a 1985 depiction. They do look like they've got integrated shorts that come to the knees in their hallberg. And then if you thought that that chest patch was a closure because you've got to climb into your armor like pajamas, that's, it's not an unreasonable interpretation. I'm kind of inclined to think that it's not correct today because I've never actually seen that. Has anybody seen, of course, would be a surviving hallberg from the invasion, the Norman invasion of England. But I've never actually seen, I don't believe, which doesn't mean it's not out there, but I don't think I've ever seen an example of a hallberg like this with integrated shorts. They're wearing polka dot jumpers. Yeah, it is kind of like a jumper, right? So this is I don't think that I've ever seen anybody try to make that out of mail. Getting into and out of it. But that's where that comes from. But then, I know I was thinking about too. We haven't even cracked that book yet. But I was thinking about this, and when I was looking up the chest patch, I did see something else that I had never seen before. Where does this come from? So what were they looking at? How do they get this interpretation in this book? Let me take this down, put this back up. I had never seen this before in my life until yesterday. Look at this. Look, I was trying to find a date on this interpretation, and I couldn't find it. But this is some type of reconstruction of a mannequin in a museum, and I was trying to figure out what the date was. Where is this guy? Where did he come from? I've never seen this before. I was reading through the text on the page, and it doesn't tell me where to find this guy or what date this interpretation is from. But I was like, oh my God. It's a ringmail interpretation of a Norman knight wearing the hallberg with shorts, with integrated shorts. So my guess is this is kind of early. I mean, as far as this interpretation, but it could have been this guy. This guy looks so much like what's in that Knights and the Knights in Armor coloring book we were just looking at. So I bet that this predates 1985, and I bet this was he's even in the same pose. And he's got the same situation with his sword belt underneath his hallberg. I bet this is the interpretation, or the inspiration for that Norman knight drawing in that coloring book. So this is back. But again, this is not an unreasonable interpretation. I mean, if you're just looking at the bio tapestry itself, if you're just looking at that tapestry and going, I want to get a reconstruction of what a Norman knight may have looked like based on what I'm looking at in that tapestry. This is not an unreasonable interpretation of what's going on in that tapestry. It's the artist represented circles on the tapestry. So look, I'm going to have leather with circles on it. So that's where ringmail comes from. So that tapestry may have been very influential in the belief in ringmail. And who knows, this particular interpretation, I really wish I knew what museum it was in or where this comes from or wherever that had done this. And they've got him in a jumper with the integrated shorts. And that chest flap is something that that seals up the front of the male hallberg. I had never seen this until yesterday. Anybody else seen this? Anybody know where this is from? TSL Frontman says drawstring at the back, maybe, for the full body chain links. Well, according to it, there is a reverse. According to this interpretation, that's what the back is. So it's just solid along the back. I'm very curious about that. And again, it brings up the idea about what we don't know. How much do we actually not know about this subject and what they looked like? we're very skeptical of the existence of ringmail here because we know that mail, as in the chain mail, existed simultaneously. And it seems like if you were looking at this particular thing that he's wearing here, this ring armor style stuff, and then you were looking also at a male Hallberg proper, that it seems like it would be you'd be very quick to realize that the male Hallberg is superior. This doesn't seem like it would defend against arrows very well. It seems like arrows would have a pretty good time defeating this armor, a pretty easy time defeating this armor. So that's another reason why I would be skeptical of it. Although a very straightforward interpretation, like I said, of the artistic depiction of the tapestry, it seems like warriors who are wearing this, and then you've got warriors who are simultaneously, wearing, or warriors of the period are also wearing mail that go, oh, gee, we need the mail. That seems better. Or it could be side ties like a human sandwich. Well, but I think that in this, you're supposed to bring down this top flap around the chest and then climb into it like pajamas and then seal up the front. So anyway, that's what I discovered yesterday. I hadn't thought about the chest patch as a closure until yesterday, and I hadn't ever seen this particular interpretation of the Norman armor. And it immediately reminded me of what was inside that coloring book and why I thought that was so weird. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Now we can go to the book. James says, we probably know less than we think we do, and I find that fascinating. I wonder what the mundane items we leave laying around for thousands of years and what people will think they were used for. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be really neat. Wouldn't it be neat to go back and just get a glimpse of like what the Battle of Hastings was like, to actually see what they were actually wearing? Like what is it that was trying to be depicted? I think that obviously it seems to me, I would guess, this may be wrong, but that when the artist is trying to depict the warriors on the tapestry, he's showing you something iconic. The artist is showing you something iconic about the way they looked. And that's so there was obviously something that he was trying to show you, or she was trying to show you, with the leather up on the chest patch and something. And either the Normans were wearing shorts or they were all wearing Hallbergs with horseman slits. There's something about that it looked iconic. The problem with that interpretation is the entire weight of the suit is on your shoulders. Yes. Not just a Hallberg or shirt, but the full body. Yes, because you're putting and sometimes you use the belt to help support the weight of things that are below the belt. But if your sword belt could still be underneath your Hallberg, and you put another belt on over that. So they are missing any type of belt to help cinch up the weight across the chest. Now, it's probably that ring interpretation is a lot lighter. So it might not matter quite as much on the ring interpretation. We'll see. I wonder if this knight would have used braids like boxers. Sable says you'd get exhausted and sore way fast. TSL Frumman says, here we have a sediment layer of charging cables where everyone was an android powered by apples. All right. So where were we here? We had just taken a look at mail. So now banded mail. This is also a weird part of this book. It's going to give us banded mail at AC4 and then also splint mail here at AC4. And it's difference between these two tends to be the direction of the plates, which to me is kind of strange. This guy is clearly wearing segmentada. They're a representation of this guy over here, which they're calling banded mail. Banded mail. Banded armor. Well, see, banded mail, otherwise known as lamellar, and splint mail, otherwise known as brigandine. I didn't think that they were trying to make banded mail lamellar. They could. He looks like he's wearing segmentata, the Lorica segmentata. And if you had some type of segmentata thing, but you turn the plates vertically, excuse me, then you would end up in splint mail. That's weird. Yeah, it could be. So this could be some type of lamellar interpretation. Those are some large lamellar plates, but we'll see what it says. Banded mail. Banded mail armor is made of overlapping horizontal strips of lamellar metal, of laminated metal, okay, of laminated metal sewn over a backing of normal chain mail and soft leather backing. That's pretty weird too here, because this interpretation is the Lorica segmentata, and that's not sewn on top of mail. Lamentation in this context refers to a process in which many thin sheets of metal are hammered or riveted together to form each individual metal strip. Where are they getting this? Is that something to do with segmentata? I don't think so. But it says campaign use. This type of armor is most commonly worn by Eastern warriors and would be as common as plate mail in cultures based on the Turks, for example, late period Mongols, or the Japanese. There you go, Zero the Blade. In a Western campaign, banded mail can be considered to be the precursor of plate armor. Since banded mail inevitably will have gaps between these metal strips, however, the total protection of vital areas is not quite as good as heavier plate armors. The result is the slightly poorer armor class rating of banded mail. The strength and flexibility of chainmail makes it ideal for protecting the jointed areas where large metal plates are traditionally incapable of providing adequate protection. One advantage of this metal and chain arrangement over chainmail alone is the fact that construction of banded mail naturally restricts movement of the metal plates across the torso. The beneficial side effect is the weight of the armor is now more evenly distributed to the wearer, making it easier to wear banded mail for longer periods of time. Sable says, most of D&D's armor descriptions are historical nonsense based on our best knowledge today. This sounds like a bunch of nonsense that we're reading right here. This one especially. I forget who was saying there are people who'd never, that was in the comments. This is people who'd never seen it in person taking descriptions from writers who had never worn it. Yeah, I don't know where they are getting this. It occurs to me, they said Turkish. You look up Turkish mail, you don't get armor. Okay, since they said that, here is my best guess at what they're talking about. In fact, let me finish this, and then I'm going to give my best guess, which is not what they're showing over here. It says, in game terms, while banded mail does have an overall higher level of protection than normal chainmail, the durability of banded mail, especially the joints, is about half that of a standard suit of chain. While a fine set of chain armor might last 6 months or more, a set of banded mail rarely lasts 3 months, even with the constant upkeep. You can't keep your mail more than 3 months. It seems like also in here, they're really big on armor basically being disposable. While a fine set of chain armor might last 6 months or more, like what? Surely you can keep your mail, your suit of mail, more than 6 months, but a banded mail set rarely lasts 3 months, even with constant upkeep. Much like chainmail, ferrous metal bands are subject to rust. However, since the metal strips found in banded mail are always inflexible and designed to remain that way, the armor class of rusty banded mail is no different from the new suit. However, the The estimation of one's peers will certainly be diminished as well as a well-tended suit of banded mail can gleam most beautifully if cared for properly. I wonder. See, Sable says, I bet that historically the types of armor interpreted as splint mail was indeed lamellar armor of some kind of armor, and some for banded mail being segmentata or brigandine. That D&D comes along and we get fantasy insinuating itself into the terminology for the popular culture. Right, that's what we've kind of been investigating too. And it seems like all of this weirdness in our terminology comes out of Victorian thinking and then very much into the fantasy scene. Tolkien, I don't think, did that. But it seems like Dungeons and Dragons and other fantasy clearly has sort of disrupted our terminology and popular understanding. Zero the Blade says, I know better as dough, but it's the same thing. PH says, the problem with these books is that they have a lot of equipment descriptions that don't translate well into the simpler rules. They are more for setting the scene, often with incorrect information. Sable Phoenix says, that maintenance is also nonsense, but they're also assuming the adventurer is going into regular combat over extended periods of time, much more than a soldier would. Maybe so. A suit of mail might not survive a single battle in the real world if you get hit too badly. Of course, the person wearing it has to worry more about their armor if their mail was torn. Mail is easy to patch. It's one of the chief benefits of other types of armor. It will last way longer than 6 months. And like Sable says, if you get hit, the more you have more to worry about than the patch up after the battle. So since it mentioned Turkish armor, this I have a theory here. I have a hypothesis that this may be what they're trying to call. Hang on. That this right here may be what they're trying to call banded mail. This says mail and plate armor. Just take a look at this right here. Oh, this right here. This right here is Russian mail and plate armor. Now, I don't mind that terminology. So this is mail and plate armor in Estonia. So if I'm trying to come up with, it looks like they've actually got a 6-in-1 around the neck, that they're doing a 6-in-1 pattern around the neck. Then they've got a 4-in-1 pattern, and they've integrated these plates. Based on what I'm reading over here in the banded mail armor, this seems to be much more like what they're talking about than the segmentata. This would be a fun one. Something like this would be a fun one to make. I don't see people making that all that often. But that would be also a very makeable kind of armor. If you want to get into plates, different methods of joining plates to the mail. Because it could be a cool look. Because I was thinking of, okay, so this right here, this says Indian, Mogul, riveted mail, and plate armor, and plate coat, Zira Bagtar. Armor of this type was introduced under the Moguls. This right here, when you said Turkish, this is kind of what I was thinking of right here. Ottoman Turkish mail and plate armor from the Topkapi Palace. This, since they're talking about it being Eastern, and Turkish, that seems to be, what is this right here? Oh, that's pretty cool. See, it's late period. Coat of mail with horn plates, the Philippines, Moro people, 1800s. Making something like that would be really cool. Yeah, right here, Russian. So people are integrating plates with mail. This is Indonesian. So based on that description, I would say that's it. also known as the coat of plates. You call this a coat of plates? I don't think I would have used the term coat of plates to describe this type of armor. I don't typically associate a coat of plates with having mail integrated with it. I typically think of a coat of plates being something that's worn over your mail and not integrated with it. Oh, come on. There we go. PH says, once in a group of parents, they asked for help because one of their children was getting hit a lot. I suggested Siberian spiked armor. Check it out. Siberian spiked armor. Oh, I've seen this. The bear hunting armor. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me bring this up. And then there we go. Yes, yes. Hang on just 1 second, will you? Just one moment. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, that's Mike says, I wish the History Channel would bring back Night Fight. Live still fighting with people in multiple armored genres with a historical armor period interjection during the team match. I remember they also had a show. Some of them, I don't remember that one. I don't think I remember watching that one. I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't think I watched it. But there was also one where the guy was always talking about, how do you win? How do you win if you're a Viking? Or how do you win if you're something? And I thought that it was kind of questionable on, like, they were trying to figure out how durable is mail. But the mail they had was budded mail. And they didn't put it on any type of mannequin or anything like that. They just put it on some sticks and then hit it with his giant axe. And of course, the budded mail just tore apart. And they're like, oh, look. Yeah, that would have been great. Oh, hang on. Just 1 second. Let me put on my spikes. Actually, hang on. Just, I need to take it. I need another break. Just 1 second, please. That would have been great. Yes, I wish I had some spiked bear armor to have returned in. That would have been perfect. I wonder if that bear armor was the inspiration for Spikor. Anybody remember Spikor from He-Man? Yeah. So I want that looks like Spikor. I wonder if that was the inspiration for Spikor. So anyway, that's my guess on what they're trying to say about banded mail here. Although, actually, I do have. Does it tell me that? Tell me something about that in the player's handbook. I had never thought of that particular interpretation we were just looking at for banded mail. I think especially because this photo, or this not this photo, but this illustration over here, this guy is clearly wearing segmentada. That's what they were supposed to. What they were calling out. I wonder if that changed. Armor 92. This is AD&D 2nd edition. So this is what I would have been playing out of at the time. 92 armor. So in the AD&D book, they had banded mail, brigandine, bronze plate mail, chain mail, field plate, full plate, helmet, great helm, bassinet, hide, leather, padded, plate mail, ring mail, scale mail. Ugh, this is just shield, body, buckler. But it looks like, so what is in here became what was in this book. Buckler, splint mail, and studded leather. Did they give me some descriptions of that? Not really. Might be over here. No, armor. They did. Okay. So they say briefly banded. This armor is made of overlapping strips of metal sewn to a backing of leather and chain mail. Generally, the strips only cover the more vulnerable areas where the chain and leather protect the joints where freedom of movement must be ensured. Through straps and buckles, the weight is more evenly distributed. Okay. All right. So I guess even then, I guess that's what they were going for. Now, splint here, it does say here, splint mail. Ugh. The existence of this armor has been questioned. It is claimed that the armor is made of narrow vertical strips riveted to a backing of leather and cloth padding. Since this is not flexible, the joints are protected by chain mail. I think they're probably talking about Lamellar there. That somebody may be looking at an artistic depiction of Lamellar. I think that's what Sable was just talking about. An artistic depiction of Lamellar. And somebody was calling that splint. So here, let's see what splint is right here. Splint mail is a variant of banded mail in which the strips are applied vertically to the backing of chain, leather, or cloth rather than horizontally as in banded mail. Why would horizontal or vertical matter? Why would you make that a particular classification here? Since the human body does not swivel in mid-torso as much as it flexes back to front, splint mail is more restrictive in battle. In game terms, splint mail is to banded mail as scale mail is to brigandine. Splint mail is the style of earlier and less efficient armoring techniques. Much like scale and ring mail, splint mail would be used by the less advanced cultures and poorer warriors. It's a relatively low street price in a Western campaign when compared to banded mail, and even chain is due to the fact that few Western warriors will even touch a set of splint mail unless they are destitute or desperate. What a weird description. The protection splint mail affords is equivalent to that of banded mail, but it's much more fatiguing to wear in lengthy battle. Furthermore, broken splints tend to work inwards toward the wearer over the course of battle. More than a few warriors have found themselves painfully cut across the ribs when broken banded mail would have been merely shifted up or down. Maintenance problems for splint mail are otherwise the same for banded mail. For characters with a light purse, splint mail can be picked up in seedier armor shops. Its price makes it ideal for adventurers who want a bit of protection over chain mail. What a weird description. LOL, that's pretty much just what I was saying. Yeah, I think so. They actually mentioned the oft-overlooked brigandine. Yeah, I know what these words all mean by themselves, but I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm skeptical of the existence of that. That sounds like a misinterpretation of somebody wearing lamellar. Let's see. Bronze field plate. Let's go ahead and continue with bronze field plate. I think it's odd that all of a sudden we have this interjected here that talks about a type of metal. This is the first one. Well, I mean, hide talks about your so brigandine. We talked about hide armor. I guess that's a material. So I mean, we talk about the difference between hide, leather, or hide and leather, and then metal. But here we're specifically talking about a type of metal. So I wonder why that is. What were they looking at when they were putting all this together that said, hey, what we need to do is that is a particular category. We're going to put it AC4, which, by the way, okay, so banded mail, splint mail, and bronze plate mail are all AC4. Oh, listen, you're going to love this, Sable. Bronze plate mail. The softest of the true plate mail armors, bronze plate mail is made of heavy metal plates attached to a layer of brigandine or composite layers of metal scales and leather or padded armor. So what is that? Heavy bronze plate metal attached to layers of brigandine or composite layers of metal scales and leather or padded armor. What was their inspiration for this? I mean, so here is their picture of bronze plate over here. Do you think that's very similar to what we were just looking at, where they're saying these are bronze plates, this is all supposed to be mail? They've got these little tick marks along the plate. So maybe they're trying to show something that's integrated with mail. If that's true, if they're talking about more about that and the banded mail and that type of thing, it changes up the kinds of things that I thought were armors in classic AD&D. Yeah, wait, bronze. I know you could call that. Wait, let's put bronze plate over a brigandine. It makes no sense. Sable says they're also making the assumption that you're going to survive the attack that damages your armor. If an attack damages your armor, it also damages you. This armor is designed, yeah. Like who would write that? So wait, what did this say? What did our original? Not this is the original D&D book about this bronze plate stuff. I think it was right over here. Okay, so no. So yeah, it's right here. So bronze plate mail. This is plate mail. This is plate mail armor. Ugh. A combination of metal plates, chain mail or brigandine, leather and padding made of softer bronze. It's easier and cheaper to make than steel armor, but it does not protect as well. A large breastplate and other metal plates cover areas of the body, but other materials must protect the joints and movable parts of the body. It's not the full plate armor of the heavy knight of the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance. It is not that. I wish I had a better image of what I would love if they could take a picture. Hey, good morning, Regular Jeff. Good morning, Regular Jeff. Welcome. Here's to you. I wish we actually had some pictures from what they were looking at in some book that would help us, or a picture from a museum that would help us figure out what exactly they're trying to talk about here. PH says it would be easier to create custom armor for the setting, loosely based on historical armor, just like in He-Man, a high-tech world that never went through the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, and like we've mentioned before, they're also trying to take all these different types of armor from different cultures and different time periods and say they're all used together, and we got to rank them in basically 10 categories of protectiveness. So James says, did the Persian cataphracts use bronze, or was that iron? So the cataphractoi did wear bronze or iron. Yeah, that's a good question. Do you think they could be looking at what they could have been inspired by was the cataphract? Bronze, cataphract, armor. Well, that guy's clearly wearing mail. That scale on his horse. I'm not seeing something that obviously looks like that on first glance. It's possible. Hellenic armor's Byzantine. Well, no, actually, it could be this. Let me pull this up. Byzantine cataphract. Maybe something like that is what they're talking about. Oh, we got some more pictures right here. That does look pretty cool. That doesn't quite have as much mail as it seems to be like they're talking about here. But it could be something like that. If you're talking about just inspiration for the fantasy, it could be something like that. See what people are saying. Yes. Oh, you're struggling with video uploads too? I've been dealing with a bunch of that. Yes, I like especially because you get heavy cavalry in the ancient world. Of course, it's different for the hussars, but and I saw something on Roman cataphracts, and I never really thought about Romans having them, but apparently they did. So unknown what they're talking about here. So they say campaign use. Historically, by the time the armor's craft had advanced to the point that plate mail had become common, steel had replaced bronze as the best metal for constructing armor. Thus, aside from ceremonial armor, most bronze plate mail appears in areas where copper and tin are plentiful and iron is rare. In general, since bronze plate mail is designed to be lighter and more flexible than normal plate mail, bronze plate armor uses leather and padding under bronze plates instead of the heavier chainmail. Well, so this says it does not have chainmail? No, this is where it says the ridiculous. You put this on top of brigandine. So it says this is not. So our inspiration here is not supposed to be something that's mail backed. So, well, I guess that makes that cataphract armor that we were looking at more likely because it doesn't have the mail. So this one does not have mail in it. So I was wrong there, according to what they're talking about. Also, to reduce the overall weight of the armor, there's no bronze plate attached to the movable joints. A large bronze breastplate and greaves are often the only difference between bronze plate mail and bronze scale or brigandine armor. Now, what kind of sense does that make? A large bronze breastplate and greaves are often the only difference between bronze plate mail and bronze scale or brigandine armor. This makes no sense. Bronze plate armor offers better protection. You can see this is why you would not want to give somebody like, hey, I'm trying to get into learning about weapons and armor. Oh, look at the AD&D guide. So who would use bronze plate mail in a standard campaign when so many other alternatives exist? Plate mail, as well as will be discussed later, is a sign of nobility to the general population. What does the lowly peasant or innkeeper know about the advantages and disadvantages of various types of plate mail? Little to be sure. In fact, this armor is one piece of equipment whose price is not determined by its true value in combat, but by its perceived value to persons around the wearer. Any knight worth his salt acquires full plate armor as soon as he can, even if it means selling his prized magic items of magic or a stout warhorse. If a knight can scrape up 400 gold pieces but can't get the extra 200 pieces to buy a real set of plate, bronze plate is the only real choice open to him. More than a few low-level adventurers with perhaps a little too much gold to spend and not enough experience or training in such matters are often cheated into buying bronze plate mail that has been painted silver. They immediately lose 200 gold pieces in the deal, taking home the inferior armor. This is really weird. They immediately lose 200 gold pieces in the deal and take home the inferior armor. Even after one such sucker sale, the charlatan salesman skips town for a few weeks or moves to a different part of the city. Naturally, such gullible warriors usually don't discover their mistake until the heat of battle, when a weapon strike that would have bounced off a real steel set of plate mail dents or cuts through the bogus plate. Caveat emptor. Not all bronze plate is part of the hoax or scam, however. There are versions of bronze plate used by cultures who, for one reason or another, haven't learned the fine art of forging iron or steel. There is much precedent for this in history and fantasy, as much more advanced cultures have lost the art and never struck the right mix of metals throughout their long history. These cultures may have developed the skill of forging bronze into a high art, making armor that looks like gold but wears like steel. Note that these types of bronze mail last much longer than the typical medieval forms that may have had a backing of solid bronze. A backing of solid bronze? Note that these types of bronze mail last much longer than the typical medieval forms and may have had a backing of solid bronze, chain, or leather. These suits wear like real plate, and the relative softness of the metal is even worked into the decorative design. Easy to emboss with one's family crest or tribal insignia, well-worked bronze shines like gold and can be polished to the sheen of a mirror. Some tribes have literally won entire battles on the distracting beauty of their exquisite armor alone. I have no idea. Like this, there's been a lot of nonsense here. But I would say that by far, this bronze plate armor is the worst offender. Maybe at some point we talked about doing like top 10 lists, like top 10 worst armor descriptions in Dungeons and Dragons. Right now, bronze plate armor is taking the cake. I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, you never attach metal armor to metal armor. You always layer it. They make it sound like you're attaching the plates onto a metal armor behind it. I know that's what it sounded like, which is pointless. You might as well just make thicker armor on the outer shell. Layering armors would have been mail padding plate if you went that far. And the outer layer would have been self-supporting. Yeah, sometimes they put Jupon's outside plate. So, yeah, you're layering different types, though. Like, you could have your padded gambeson, your sub-armorless underneath, and then your mail, and then a breastplate, and then sometimes they'd put a Jupon over that. These specifics are not accommodated by the system. They should just leave all this complexity to the randomness of the dice. Yeah, I know. It's not like they're giving any type of real mechanical. Of course, that's not exactly the point of this book. But they're not giving you mechanical things other than here or there, like you could take off -2 if your shoulders are tired from the mail. And it seems like they always want to tell you you're going to have to replace your armor every few months. But yeah, I have no idea what their inspiration for that is. None. What are they talking about? Especially something that looks like plate armor that you could trick somebody into buying it if you painted it silver. I mean, it's weird. Okay, plate mail. All right, maybe we have enough time to do this one. Plate mail, so this is AC3. Plate mail is a combination of chain or brigandine armor with metal plates covering the vital areas, such as chest, abdomen, or groin. Now, see, again, they're giving us a very it is AD&D, but they're giving us a very fantasy look here. It's difficult to know exactly what they're talking about because instead of trying to give us a historical reference, they're giving us a very fantasy reference over here. So it's a combination of chain or brigandine armor with metal plates covering the vital areas such as chest, abdomen, and groin. Similar in construction to bronze plate mail, true plate mail comprises heavy steel plates riveted to a sturdy backing of chain and leather. So the things look the same? That's so weird. The metal plates are often better constructed than those found in bronze plate and banded mails, relying on superior metallurgy and advanced lamination techniques to produce a lightweight steel with excellent combat characteristics. So here's talking about brigandine backing again. Brigandine backing for this type of armor is rare. Well, it does say it's rare. Because of the stiffness of brigandine armor makes this type of backing an unpopular choice among plate armorers and warriors are alike. Yeah, that's not anything that ever would have happened. For all of these reasons, plate mail protects the human body more efficiently than bronze plate mail. That sounded like a bunch of nonsense as well about why this one's better. Oh, non sequitur. Doug. Doug just shared some of the artwork he had commissioned for the Heroine's Labyrinth chapters on Facebook. They're gorgeous. I don't know if I've seen those, but I know that he was getting art commissioned. It's going to be a fantastic looking book. Sable says you would use brigandine as a lighter version of full plate. You would never wear brigandine under a plate. Yeah, the development of plate mails. This is campaign use. The development of plate mail heralded the beginning of the age of chivalry and knighthood. Associated most often with classic French medieval culture. This is associated with classic French medieval culture. This heralded the beginning of the age of chivalry and knighthood. Not really. We were just looking at all the Norman knights and their armor. Associated most often with classic French medieval culture, the names given to segments of plate mail reveal their French origin to this day. The most important metal plate on the armor is called the plaston de feu, or breastplate. It protects the vital chest and abdomen areas from attack. Typically, the shoulders are protected by metal shoulder guards called epauliers. Lower leg protection called greaves, and metal-plated chain gloves or gauntlets are often common accessories to plate metal suit. Any manner of helm is also desirable. See the section on helms. Plate mail is the most common form of heavy armor in fantasy campaigns. It provides maximum protection for a fraction of the cost of field or full plate armor and can take months after months of grueling combat punishment. It's only moderately heavier than banded or chain mail, and because of its custom fitting and sturdy straps, wears easier than either. Because the plates are carefully fitted to combine with the chain suit beneath, the layers of leather and padding beneath the chain is often much thinner and more flexible than found in banded and brigandine armors. After long years have gone into perfecting and constructing plate mail, which makes even the basic units of such suits a wonder of medieval engineering. With regard to cost, the purchaser has a set of plate mail may have to fork out considerable sums of money to comparable to banded mail, but no wearer of plate mail doubts for long the value and summary wisdom of his purchase. Knights, royal guards, and even mercenary captains wear plate mail. Even as a prize of battle, plate mail is infinitely easier to fit the new owner than either field plate or full plate. Plate mail is the perfect protection of the vast percentage of the world's most experienced warriors because it's not nearly as cumbersome to don or remove as either heavier types of armor. It's a matter of pride among many kingdoms that even the slightest improvement to the general plate mail design was quickly attributed to the armorer who invented the alteration and the king whose wisdoms it was to accept the change. As such, most sets of plate mail were constantly upgraded throughout the known world and are now very similar indeed. In fact, the perfection of the basic plate mail design was so nearly complete that many armorers had already begun devoting most, if not all, of their time and resources to working field and full plate armor with similar care and precision. Plate mail is the heaviest armor commonly used by adventurers, both as a matter of pride and for the general necessity of daily use and efficiency. I wish I had an example again of what they were looking at. Some book. I mean, even if it were a reference. Like if they were referencing some of those books in the front, like giving us an actual reference for individual bits of information. I'd be curious to see what they were looking at when they wrote this and what they were thinking. And then we would be able to go back and look at what they were referencing and going, oh, so they were trying to reference this and they were interpreting it in this particular direction. But today we would interpret it in this other direction. It kind of feels like to me, they're trying to talk about some type of transitional suit. Like maybe we are in the 14th century where you are talking about the transitional period between full suits of plate and mail armor. It seems to me like that's my best guess at what they're looking at here and trying to put together plate armor for. Sable Phoenix says a lot of what they're saying just doesn't make logical sense either. So I'm sure this has been the source, I am sure, of a lot of our confusion about terminology and medieval armors in our modern world. Well, let's see. Well, actually, I've got other things I've got to do. So I think we will stop right there. So we got more to do. Field plate armor, then going into full plate armor, and then dedicated fantasy stuff, which will be fun too. I'm going to put a right there. So that's where we'll stop. All right, tonight, 7 o'clock, from where you dream, we'll be talking about that with Sable Phoenix and James tonight, along with Brianna and Doug. So that's going to be great. I'm going to be uploading clips over to the Table Talk channel. Please go over to the Table Talk channel. More clips will be coming out over there today. I got to meet with Brianna this afternoon, and then I got to get ready and prepare the rest of my notes for tonight. So please, yeah, I know it could have been so much better, but that's why I want to know what they were referencing, because they may have been referencing terrible stuff too. Let's see. All right. So everybody, I will see you tonight. Everybody have fun, be creative, be constructive, and grind on.